Hello everyone. Today we'll take up a chapter, Deep Water, written by William Douglas, and this chapter is from Flamingo, syllabus of class 12th. This chapter is an autobiography written by William Douglas. The theme of this chapter is that if we are determined enough and have the courage, we can overcome any fear that comes in our way without letting the fear overpower. हाँ दोस्तों, if you have determination, courage, willpower, hard work and patience, you can overcome any obstacles and failures in life. This chapter is taken from the author's autobiography of Man and Mountains. And in this chapter, he just tells us about how the fear of water he had acquired and how he conquered it by determination and willpower. William Douglas in his early childhood was a victim of hydrophobia, but all these positive attributes enabled him to achieve success. And how the fear captured him. When William Douglas was only 3 or 4 years old, his father took him to a beach in California. Over there, a wave knocked him down. William Douglas got scared. He just thought that his breath is gone. He became scared, and the fear was instilled in his subconscious mind. That time his age was only 3 or 4 years old. But his father began to laugh. But this fear was now instilled in his subconscious mind. When William Douglas was 10 or 11 years old, he was eager to learn to swim, and he got an opportunity and he joined a YMCA swimming pool in Yakima. This Yakima pool was 2 or 3 feet deep at the shallow part, but it was 9 feet deep at the deepest end. But the drop was gradual and it was safe to learn to swim. Douglas in his early childhood, he was very skinny. So first he was feeling embarrassed to enter this pool, but he subdued this pride and he entered with the help of the water wings. Initially he was worried, but when he stepped in the pool, he looked to be worried because it stirred the unpleasant memories of that experience which he had faced at the California beach. But he was determined, he was confident, and with the help of the water wings, he went into the pool and he copied the boys of his age who were swimming, and he also jumped into the pool and tried to learn swimming by copying the children of his age. One day, William Douglas reached the pool very early. This is a time when he had not gathered complete confidence, but he reached the pool early. He was all alone at the pool. So he was scared of going in the pool alone. So he decided to wait for others. So for pool par, he sat at the side of the pool waiting for the others to come. At the same instant, a misadventure took place. It so happened that an 18-year-old bruiser of a boy, well built with nice muscular and rippling muscles, he came over there. He saw this skinny Douglas sitting over there. He lifted Douglas and he tossed him at the deepest end of the pool, which was 9 feet deep. Douglas was totally scared. He did not know how to swim. He panicked and he started drowning, and he went to the bottom of the pool, which was 9 feet deep. William Douglas was so scared that this 9 feet depth looked as 90 feet to him. In spite of being scared, he kept his wits about him. His sense of thinking was in his control, and while he was drowning, he made a strategy to save himself up. He decided that as soon as he reaches the bottom, he will give a big upward jump, come to the surface, lie down, kick the water with his hands and legs and swim out to the safety to the edge of the pool. This is the strategy which he made. But unfortunately, he came up very slowly, and when he opened his eyes, he saw nothing but water. water which now he started to dislike. He started to panic as he came up, especially because he could not get his face out of the water. For once he came to the surface, he tried to breathe, but only water entered into his body. He tried to flail. Flail is to move energetically in an uncontrolled way, chatpatana. He flailed, and then some force was pulling him under. He tried to bring his legs up, but his legs had become rigid and paralyzed, and he started going down in the pool for the second time. And what was his age? His age was only 10 or 11 years old at this time, and he did not know much swimming. As he sank or drowned down for the second time, when he was going in the pool for the second time, he started to lose his breath, and he was suddenly stiff with fear. And he was so scared that this 9 feet depth which he felt earlier, this 9 feet looked as 90 to him, but now he just thought he is going down in the bottomless pool. But in spite of being scared, terrified, he knew the strategy. क्या करना है? That as soon as he reaches the bottom, he will give a big upward jump, come up, out, lie down and kick the waters with the legs and hands and swim to the edge of the pool. But he was overcome with terror again, and he was literally freezing. He almost came up, but some force was pulling him under, and he started his journey back into the pool for the third time. And when he started going down in the pool for the third time, darkness started surrounding him, and this was a time when he gave up the struggle to survive. He was exhausted, and a darkness swept over his brains. He was unable to think and realize what is going on to him, and he just saw the curtain of his life fall. It seemed as if death seemed to welcome him, and he was losing his consciousness, and he crossed to oblivion. Oblivion is the state of forgetfulness. He crossed to oblivion, and he just saw the curtain of his life fell. So at this small age of only 10 and 11 years old, William Douglas experienced death. He just saw death inches away from him. After that, he did not know what happened, but when he regained consciousness, he found himself outside the pool vomiting, and he had been saved and he had been pulled out of the water just in time. That night he could not eat when he went home, and for days his leg was trembling and he felt very uneasy, and for days a haunting fear was in his heart. This incident left him feeling vulnerable and helpless, and from that day he was terrified of water. He became a victim of hydrophobia. As he grew older, this fear stayed with him. William Douglas, though he was scared of water, though he was a victim of hydrophobia, water always tempted him. William Douglas wanted to enjoy boating, fishing, canoeing. He also wanted to enjoy the cascades. Cascades are the waterfalls. He tried to pursue his pleasure. He went to the different lakes, different ponds to enjoy the cascades, to catch different type of fishes. He went to pursue the pleasures like canoeing, boating and swimming. When he tried to get into the cascades, different lakes for fishing, but his legs would become rigid and paralyzed. That fear would totally capture him, and his legs would become rigid and paralyzed, and he could not pursue or enjoy the pleasure trips of water. He could not enjoy the life the way he wanted to live. Finally, in October, he decided to overcome his fear of water. He decided, bas, enough, now I want to live life and I will overcome my fear of water. And for this, he took the help of an instructor in the month of October, and the instructor built Douglas into a swimmer piece by piece. William Douglas was determined, and he practiced for 5 days in a week, 1 hour each day. Now, the way the instructor taught him. The instructor first tied a belt to Douglas. A rope was attached to the belt, and the open end of the rope, with the help of an overhead pulley, was now thrown, and the instructor held the open end of the rope. Now, William Douglas was put inside the pool. Whenever and he was told to go in, come out, back and forth, this training started. Whenever Douglas would be inside the water, he went underwater, he would panic. But after regular practice, the tension began to slacken, and it took 3 months. 3 months of regular practice it took for the tension to slacken. Slacken is to reduce. Next, the instructor taught him the breathing exercise. He told him or taught him how to exhale inside the water and how to inhale outside the water. William Douglas eventually did this, and he practiced this hundreds of times. And finally, the instructor taught him the leg exercise, and he told him how to kick the water properly. And William Douglas eventually learned all these things, step by step, piece by piece. In the month of April, the instructor told him to integrate all these pieces into one and swim. William Douglas swam successfully the length of the pool, and the instructor thought that his work is over. But Douglas was not himself satisfied. He was overjoyed, but he just wondered whether he would be able to swim alone without the help of the instructor. So, after the instructor went in the month of April, so from October to April, nearly 7 months of dedicated hard work and learning to swim. After the instructor went away, from April to July, he swam all alone. And it was not that he would not be terrified, but whenever he would be surrounded by terror, he would now frown at the terror, and he will just say, "Hey, what will you do to me? Take, this one is for you," and he would jump into the pool again. Now, to curb his lingering doubts, after this, William Douglas in the month of July came out, and he started swimming in the other open water bodies, because he wanted to curb the lingering doubts. So, he went to Lake Wentworth, dived off a dock at Triggs Island, and swam 2 miles across the lake to Stamp Act Island. During this whole time, he experienced the fear only once, but now he was able to ignore it. He faced the fear courageously, thinking that now, as he knew how to swim, what harm could it do to him? He would just tell, "What harm will you do to me?" and he would swim on, and the terror would get terrorized. So, he challenged his fear in the face of it by saying, "Well, Mr. Terror, what do you think you can do to me?" Finally, the terror would vanish, and he would swim on happily. In spite of practicing so much, he still had some residual doubts within him. So, once he got the opportunity, he went up the Triton to Conrad Meadows, up the Conrad Creek Trail to Maid Glacier. He camped over there, and next day he stripped, he changed his clothes and jumped from a great height into the warm lake like Doug Corpron used to do. And when he was able to swim across the warm lake and back successfully, he was ecstatic, and this is the time he shouted with joy, "Yes, I have overcome my fear of water." Finally, William Douglas realized that death is peaceful, and it is the fear of death that is terrorizing. And he very rightly remembers the words of President Roosevelt, who has just rightly said, "All we have to fear is fear itself." Now, William Douglas had developed this confidence, and his will to live life grew intensely, as now he had overcome his fear and he started living fearlessly. And finally, he felt himself liberated. He could climb great heights, jump from great heights and brush aside the fear. So, this is about this chapter, the experience of William Douglas, that how as a child he was a victim of hydrophobia, but with all the positive attributes: hard work, determination, willpower, confidence, sincerity, perseverance and patience. He overcame his fear of water. And this is what, friends, you all should remember, that all we have to fear is fear itself. Thank you everyone.